And we're looking at the sun on 171 angstroms here. We see some eruptive behavior up in the northeast limb. Does not look like that filament has ejected, at least not as far as we can tell yet. Some filaments in the southeast also. And here's the view in 131 angstroms. You can actually see the filamentary activity in pretty much all wavelengths here. It's a pretty big series of filaments. Looks like some activity going on right here in the north Earth-facing region also. We did see a coronal mass ejection yesterday, and thanks to that viewer who alerted us to it. And here comes a coronal mass ejection on the LASCO C3. Does not appear to be Earth-facing. And let's check it out on the C2 also. And I'll leave it zoomed out there so you can see the date stamps. And there it is, very early on the 14th. Pretty much just a couple hours before we did show prep. And we did see some geoelectric spikes here, geomagnetic spikes. We see the phi angle shifting all over the place. Solar wind currently at 3.61, but it's been as high as solar wind density. It's been up to 150 protons per cubic centimeter. There we go, 150.97 we have a reading there on the Discover craft, as we see the solar wind speed rising also. And we see some effects geomagnetically from that. And there's the corroborative data on the ACE spacecraft. Here's the geomagnetosphere movie. I'm just going to advance this to the heavy spike that we got. And it looks like a bunch of plasma density blown off there. A couple double spikes coming in. That pressure probably off the scale. And I'll let that play through one more time. That coming in at about 840, I believe. About 840. Second pulse coming in right around 9. So 20 minutes apart for those two pulses, and then the magnetosphere returned to a very weak state. We do see implications on global magnetic perturbations here. Here's your daily geospace delta B. And we're going to keep this one kind of short, as you've probably already watched our cosmology video, or perhaps not. If not, go look at the video. Anyway, there's that spike coming in around 840. That's 840 UTC. And in the north, that's right in the net of the poles there. It's not significantly oriented toward the Canadian pole or the Siberian pole. It's right in the net there east of Greenland. And the South Pole does appear to be creepy as it's creeping into the southern Indian Ocean. There you'll see a second smaller pulse at 9 o'clock. 10.7 centimeter radial flux back down to 67. Ouch. Welcome to solar minimum. There's the GOES magnetometer. Looking a little spiky. Here's the Gong 2 data. We are seeing some activity here. You can see in green a little bit of suspended plasma, otherwise nothing to write home about there. There's the GOES electron flux. We're seeing a dip, probably from that sudden protonic spike we just saw. We call it proton light. And the relativistic electrons are in a nominal range. Charging hazards, we don't see any. X-ray flux is totally flatlined. KP has been at 1 for the past 6 hours. And the ionosphere has a heavy charge/discharge going on. Check out the last 6 hours. Got a large 14 megahertz blob there on the sun side and a huge discharged F-nothing there. There's the big red blob right above my head partially, the F-nothing layer showing up across the entire nighttime side of the planet. We're not going to get into the physics of it right now. We're probably going to produce a third video throughout the day. But first, we're going to go over all the earthquakes above a 4.0 and shout out to David Schlottower for alerting us via Facebook to the 4.5 magnitude quake that you felt. Cheers, bud. Let's have you on the show sometime soon. First one we see 24 hours ago, in the past 24 I should say, is a 4.0 at Larsen Bay, Alaska, followed by a 4.3 in Japan, that one coming in at 1409 UTC. As the magnitude 6 and 7 earthquake drought continues, folks. There's another 4.5 out in the Aleutian Islands. Here's a 4.3 at Indonesia. Here's a 4.9 at Venezuela at depth. We have been seeing some deep quakes around the Caribbean plate. 4.3 at Italy. That one's at depth. Shout out! Shout out Italian viewers! Check it out, 279 kilometers depth. Does not exercise your earthquake risk. We still have a coronal hole facing the earth. Phi angles jumping all around. Be on alert, folks. If you're in an earthquake-prone area, be ready. The drought continues, and earthquake droughts always end in one thing: earthquakes. Here's a 5.0 at Papua New Guinea. That one also at depth. Here's a 4.4 in Timor Sea. And here coming in at 2133 UTC, 5.6. Very far south, near Antarctica, actually. I believe that's the second largest of the past 24. Here's a 5.2 at Tonga. Here's the largest of the past 24. I believe that's a 5.9 at Indonesia. 5.3 at Russia. That one at depth. Heads up there for a larger quake at the surface. 4.5 at Indonesia, another deep quake. 4.7 at the Philippines. 4.5 at the Philippines. 5.1 at Indonesia. 4.9 at the South Sandwich Islands. Looks like an aftershock. And last but not least, a 4.5 coming in just a few hours ago near Pleasant Hill, California. David Schlotauer, leave a comment if you're viewing the video. Here's the witty.com pressure map. Let's hope it runs a little better than yesterday. And we'll let that advance about 24 hours from the time the video is shot, which is 5:14 Eastern daylight. And I didn't mean to click on that, so we'll just get rid of that entirely. Anyway, there's where the pressure will be at midnight, and we'll let it advance to about 10 o'clock Zulu. There we go. How about 11? And volcano rundown includes a bunch of volcanoes. Mount Aso still erupting, producing a 6,000-foot ash plume. Sakurajima producing a 6,000-foot ash plume. Dakona, 7,000-foot ash plume there. And a new one on the list at Tonga. Check it out. Intermittent eruption, no ash identifiable. Metis Shoal. Nice. Popocatépetl exploding, 22,000-foot plume there. Revenador, 15,000-foot plume there as it explodes. Sabancaya exploding, 25,000-foot plume there. Copahu unable to detect sporadic emissions from Nevados de Chile and say don't build a campsite on the side of the mountain. Here's where stuff is in the solar system. Milky Way galaxy, team for the win. And there's where stuff will be in 1 week. Cheers. Here's where stuff is above my head. And yeah, we're going to just move on to lightningmaps.org. Here's the live lightning maps. Italy getting hit with thunderstorms as well as earthquakes. And a bunch of quakes out in the ocean. Don't be out on a boat with hunks out there, or it could be the perfect storm for you. Here's a U.S. Doppler radar. And we're going to show you the water vapor map and evaporate this coverage. See what I did there? That's a segue. Not the kind you ride. There are no gyroscopes used in the creation of this video. We're going to zoom in on this area over South Dakota as it's pretty weird looking. We've got an atmospheric river of dry air, an atmospheric desert. And here's this zone near the North Dakota, South Dakota border. If you're in that area, go outside and take a photograph of the sky. You probably got some interesting clouds above, to say the least. Please leave a comment if you've got photos of lenticular clouds and links. We'll feature them on the video. Here are the jets in the eastern world. There we go, that's better. And here are the western jet streams. Ever hear a meridional jet stream flow? Well, if you did, you probably understand the difference between censored and a sinkhole. By the way, check out our cosmology video if you haven't yet done so. And stay tuned for one bonus feature, just one. It's 8 hours of a crazy plasma dance on your local yellow dwarf. There you have it. We are out to watch our own premiere. We hope you're watching it now. And thanks for tuning in. Remember, stare at the sun. Don't drink. And if you drink, stare at the sun anyway. Just don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back and the atherosclerosis absent from your veins.